Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm doing the first work to a native Australian tree. I believe it's a Melaleuca squarrosa, a scented paperbark tree. Here is a look at the tree. This was one of Florence's trees from the Toronto Bonsai Society. So today I'm going to be doing the first work on it, the first styling work of many styling sessions to come. I took this tree home in the early winter, so it's been in the plant room and it's been growing. It's looking healthy. So I've got to have a look at the tree and pick a front for the tree and then go about pruning it up. So the first thing I notice is that it's got two lower branches that are quite low on the tree, and then the trunk comes up and divides into two. And then there's more branching going up. So I have to decide, first of all, do I want these lower branches or do I want more of a trunk line? And I think, those lower branches are just too low if I want to grow this into a larger tree. You can keep this tree any size because it has very small leaves. They would look in scale if this bonsai were very small. If it were a small tree, I'd probably keep those lower branches, or at least one of them. If I'm growing it into a larger tree, well, I want more trunk before I start my branching. So I've got to decide, do I want to keep this as a small tree, or do I want to grow it into a larger tree? If I were to keep this tree as a very small tree, I would have to do some major pruning on it to get rid of all these leggy branches. If I'm growing it into a larger tree, I can keep a lot of this branching. Because this is a new species for me, I'm not sure how they react to hard pruning. Like I can see a branch that's being pruned here, and then there's two branches that have either grown in this area after the pruning, or maybe they were there already and it's just a regular pruning cut. I'm not sure. There's another branch in here that was hard pruned and I don't see any growth coming off of the stub. So I'm guessing that they don't send out branches easily after pruning if you prune them back to bare wood. That's just a guess. I don't know. Maybe someone can help me out in the comments section. And I hope I have the species correct. It is, if you crush the leaves, it has a very spicy smell to it. So it's definitely a scented tree. So I think, to play it safe, I'm going to remove those lower branches, getting a little more trunk line and growing it to a medium and maybe eventually a larger tree. All right, so here I go pruning off the lower branches. I'm going to leave a stub similar to this. If I prune it flush to the trunk, I'm not sure how the tree will react. It could die back to the root base and I'll have this dead section on the trunk. So it's always safer to leave a stub to allow the tree a bit of healing and then prune your stub off the next time you prune. So I'm going to come in here and remove this lowest branch. So here I go. That's gone. And I will try and plant some cuttings off of this. It's always good to have a backup. And it's a cool species that I'm sure someone in the club would be quite happy to get. So the next branch, it's already got a stub here. I'm going to prune it off here. So here I go. So that branch is gone also. So now you can see a little more of the trunk line. So next I'm going up the trunk, and I've got a very thick kind of trunk here, and beside it another branch. So if I were to keep this as the leader, which is kind of the natural trunk line of the tree, I can't keep both of these branches coming from one spot. If I were to keep both of these branches, I'd have to prune off the leader and replace it with one of these. So I have a lot of options. I could go prune that branch off. I'd lose a lot of the tree, or I could keep this division and prune the skinnier branch off. And I think in this case the skinnier branch should go because there's not a whole lot of foliage on it. Whereas if I prune this, half the tree is gone. So I'll prune off this one. So here I go. Just like that. So now that's what I'm left with. It's looking good. This stub is dried, so I can prune that back now. So I'll do that. All right, here I go pruning that stub away. So I'll just take half of it first, and then I'll come in and clean that cut up like that. So there's a lot of kind of horizontal branches on the tree, and then there's vertical shoots coming off them that are growing up into the branches above. So I think I need to kind of sort my branch structure out, and to do that I'll look above the tree and look down. So you can see this branch here is in the shade of the branch above it. So I've got to make sure that, you know, every branch when viewed from above has sunlight on it. I don't want branches growing in the shade of others. So let's go above the tree now and look at the branch structure. So I'm looking at the branch structure. So here on the tree I have 3 branches going from one spot. I've got the vertical kind of trunk line and 2 branches. So one of those has to go. Tough decision. I think it's going to be the one in the middle here. It looks the most awkward and less flowing of a branch, so that one's coming off, and I'll leave a stub. So that one's coming off. Here on this branch I have one branch growing up and one going down, and they're one above each other. So one of those will have to go. And I think I'll have to look in the front view to decide which one of those has to go. Other than that, most of the branches have quite good light. Their overall placement around the trunk line. There's no, other than the branches that I pointed out, these 2 branches growing above each other here, the rest of the branches look okay. So I need to sort these problems out, this double branch here and the one over here. So we'll go to the front view to do that. All right, let's see where we were. So here's these 2 branches here, the bottom one and the one above. And I'm thinking if I make this a medium sized tree, I don't need this lowest branch here. So I'm going to remove this one. Like that, keeping the one above. Now on this branch, again, I have a branch growing underneath another branch here. So I think I'll keep the upper ones and remove this lowest one. It's kind of thick, this one. I'm replacing it with thinner branches up top. Here's the other spot where I have a lower branch growing underneath an upper branch. And again, I think I'm going to keep my one that flows upwards and remove the lower one. Like that. Creating a taller tree. So that's got rid of those major kind of branch flaws. At least they're kind of all in the light now. Now there may be some more detailed work up top here where I've got branches kind of growing underneath other branches, which is all right if they're longer. If they're longer and they have sun. So I may have to prune some of these upper branches shorter so everything's getting light. Light is very important, especially on these Australian natives. They like lots of light. So it looks like they backbud well. You can see some backbuds here on this branch. So that's always good. So on this branch, I kind of have a cascading branch here. And I think I would be better to develop it up into the canopy. So I'm going to prune this one away. Like that. And then the one that's going vertical, I'm going to remove the growth on the inside of the branch so everything's fanning outwards. And I'm going to prune back the tip. It's getting a little long and straight. And that will be good on that one, I think. This branch over here, I've got, again, a lot of ladder branches, one above the other. I think I'll definitely take this one off. Maybe even this whole top here. Like that. This is dead up here. Dead tip here. And I'll prune this one back here. Trying to get everything dividing from 1 to 2 and avoiding opposite branches. So I'm going to take this one off also. I have some more ladder branches here. I'll take off, I think, this one and this one. Dividing from 1 to 2. 1 to 2 here. Take off my third one. 1 to 2. Yeah, I think that's... Take off this one. That cleans that branch up quite nicely. This tip, maybe I should take some of these off. I'm going to take this one off. And this one. This one back. Take the tip off. I'm sure I won't solve all the structural problems on this tree today, but I'll get it cleaned up so everything's looking good. There's a stub I can prune back here. Now let's look at this branch. So there's one crossing back towards the center of the tree. I'll get rid of that. This branch is a vertical section I'll get rid of. Prune this back. I think that's good. There's one growing to the inside here I'll take out. And there's one here that's crossing back. Move that one too. So you can see I'm going to get a lot of light into this inner structure now. I think it'll be quite good for the tree. Now this branch line here comes up and then it grows in towards the tree again. Not very ideal, so I'm going to take that off, leaving a stub. Like that. I'm going to remove this branch, vertical branch. There's part of this branch at the tip, it grows back in towards the center of the tree. I'm going to remove that. Like that. This branch also has some branches growing in towards the center, so I'll get rid of those. And this one. I've got a branch here that kind of curls up the middle. And I think, you know, this is my apex of the tree up here, following this trunk line. This one should be more of a back branch or back trunk. So I'm thinking this one I got to shoot here. I'll prune it off short and we'll see what happens on that one. This one I'm going to prune off to an outwards facing branch here, like that. Move this growth on the inside. Move this branch. Takes a weird turn there. There's a branch going straight up there I can prune away. Now, off of here, there's one coming back here. I'll prune away one here. And I'm thinking on this branch I should take off this vertical growth and keep it a little flatter like this branch. I think so. So off goes this growth. Like that. And I think I should do the same back here. Prune off this vertical growth and keep my horizontal growth. And maybe prune this back a little shorter, maybe this one off, like that. So now the tree is starting to look a little better. I would like to reduce this branch back, and maybe I should do that now. I think so. Just keeping this as my branch leader. So I'm going to take this whole piece off, like that. I think this keeps this more of a branch rather than a trunk line. And I've got my apex staggered branching, which looks quite nice. So I think I'm going to take off this vertical one here, like that. And this can get shortened eventually. And the one back here, I think it'll be a branch also. So I'm going to shorten or remove that vertical growth here too. So you can see the design kind of evolving now. So this needs shortening back here. So I will prune away the length off of there. I've got some back budding starting here. It's going towards the inside. I'm not going to do a lot of work in the apex. I do have like a double branch there, which isn't very good. It would be nice to keep both, but structurally it just doesn't look good, those two branches growing up there. Something has to be done in this area, so I think removing this one will do it, or pruning it back. Ugh. I'll lose like a lot of my canopy if I prune that away. But I know it'll grow back in. If I prune away the front one, I'm kind of left with a bit of a vertical tree. I would rather this kind of movement going up. So I'm going to take this one off. Here I go. It's gone. That looks much better. I'll prune this downward facing one off, giving the branches a little more room to grow. I'll prune this vertical growth back here, like that. There's one growing straight down here I can remove. Take this tip off. So I'm just looking for branch flaws now. You know, 2 branches growing from one spot, divisions of 1 to 3. Problem areas like that. I'll take this tip off here. There's one kind of growing from the bottom here I'll take off. Well, I think I'm pretty close to being finished. I think for the first styling, that's pretty drastic work. But you can see it's got a basic form to the tree now. So I can start filling it in again and, you know, selecting more branches in the future. So I think that's going to be it for the pruning. I will mark the front, and I think the front of the tree will be somewhere right where you're seeing it about now. So I'll put a loop of wire in there. Stick that at the front right here. And the front could change in the future, so there's the front of the tree. It could change in the future as the tree develops, but for now I'm quite happy with it. I think, you know, once I can shorten this branch, it'll look much better. It's a little long, that branch. But everything else is looking quite nice. I'm quite happy with the tree. And the tree seems to be growing well in the plant room. It's doing well. Okay. Here is what I took off the tree today. So a lot of foliage, a lot of branches. And here's what's left on the tree, looking quite sparse. But it's got a nice basic structure, I think. I'm quite happy with it. It's nice to have some Australian natives in the collection. I'll rotate the tree around now so you can see it from all angles. So here is the chosen front for now. Coming around to the right-hand side. Coming around to the back of the tree. Over to the left-hand side. And back to the front. I've completed the first step of the styling of the Melaleuca squarrosa. I'm very happy with it. I'm looking forward to developing this tree far into the future. So thanks very much, Florence, for the tree. I sure will enjoy it. So that is all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.